On today's show, it is all about the carbs, so settle yourself in and we will begin. Carbohydrate restriction is a core part of the keto diet, and it is important to understand why and how we should be tracking carbs. Do all carbs count? Can we ignore the carbs if they are in the form of fiber? Before we answer these questions, let's go back and look at what a carb is. We'll begin with simple carbs, and the simplest being sugar in the form of glucose. Glucose is a very simple molecule consisting of 6 atoms of carbon to 12 atoms of hydrogen to 6 atoms of oxygen. Don't worry, we will keep the chemistry down to a minimum. Glucose is, of course, used as an energy source by our bodies. In fact, 1 gram of carbs can produce 16 kilojoules. Glucose is not the only sugar. Fructose and galactose are also monosaccharide sugars, meaning they all have the same chemical formula, but their atoms are arranged a little differently. Both of these sugars will be converted into glucose within the liver. More complex sugars will be broken down to these simpler sugars and then have the same fate in the liver. Simple carbohydrates will be broken down into glucose relatively quickly, which will cause a spike in blood sugar. Of course, in response to this sugar spike, the body releases more insulin to move the excess out of our bloodstream and into storage within our muscles in the form of glycogen, or of course into fat cells. If you keep binding simple carbs together, they become more complicated, and they move beyond being simple sugars into what we call starches. The complex carbs are the result. These starch-heavy carbs will still be broken down into simple sugars before they are absorbed into the bloodstream as glucose, fructose, and of course, galactose. Of course, the fructose and galactose will have to be converted to glucose once it makes its way to the liver. This digestion process with complex carbs does slow down the absorption rate and can help keep the sugar spike less pronounced as it trickles in the glucose a little slower. This is better, but still not great, as the excess glucose will still be stored. Where it is better is that it gives you more time to burn the sugar before it gets turned into glycogen or fat. There is another form of carbs called fiber. Fiber is a very complex form of carbohydrate and is not digested within our small intestines. There will be fermentation from gut bacteria in the large intestine that can result in smellier than normal flatulence. This fiber is usually very fibrous and can be beneficial in helping move along waste products within our intestines. You will probably hear about soluble and insoluble fiber. All that means is that soluble fiber will absorb water. Hence, it can be a bit of a stool thickener, while the insoluble one does not. So what does this mean for our macros? Well, there are 2 camps on this. One camp says the fiber counts, and as a result, they get much fewer carbs in their diet. When you follow this path, it is a little harder to get all your proper nutrients, so supplementation may be helpful. Also, it gets easier to get fat adapted, which can be a good thing. However, the other camp, and this is the camp I follow, uses net carbs opposed to total carbs. So when calculating your carbs, you take the total number of carbs and then subtract the carbs that are from fiber to get your net carbs. Those net carbs are then applied towards your daily carb allowance. In this case, you may look at the label and it may say 10 grams of carbs, 1 gram of sugar, 8 grams of fiber. You notice 8 and 1 only adds up to 9. So we're missing 1 gram. We don't know what that one is. So in these calculations, we still would count that 1 gram. It may be an alcohol sugar, but it's better to err on the safe side when you're trying to keep yourself within a state of ketosis. One food that is a very high source of fiber is fruit. However, they are very much a no-no on keto. It is not because of the fiber, but they are also packed full of fructose, and we know that fructose gets converted into glucose and they can cause a significant sugar spike. Some berries are okay in small amounts. Just check your labels and be sure to balance them with your daily allowance. Raspberries are the best as they only contain 3 grams of carbs for half a cup. Blackberries are good too with 4 grams per half a cup. And of course, the third best is strawberries that have 6 grams of carbs per half a cup. I will tell you, if you really, really want a great dessert and you love the strawberries, a little bit of strawberries with some full fat whipping cream, very tasty and very easy to fit within your macros. Okay, let's get to this week's weigh-in. Last week, we had come in at 315.4 pounds with a weekly loss of 4.4 pounds for a total loss of 24.6 pounds. Of course, that averages out to 8.2 pounds per week. We still suspect that average will be trending down today as we continue to level out that initial water loss bump. So today's verdict came in at 313.2 pounds for a loss of 2.2 pounds this week and a total loss of 26.8 pounds. That makes our new weekly average of 6.7 pounds. Always remember that keto is a marathon and not a sprint, so your numbers will vary week to week. And never let that dictate how you feel. 2.2 pounds was lower than I expected, but I added some small weights to my workout, so some of my muscle toning this week may have lowered that number a wee bit. And that is totally cool by me. Remember, this is all about losing fat and not weight. Hopefully, those of you following along also had some good results this week. As always, remember, it is not about the number on the scale, but rather how we are feeling in our clothes. The tail of the tape measure will tell everything. Also, if your exercise is getting easier, you know that you're moving in the right direction. We are losing fat together, and that is the bottom line. Now, let's have some fun with growing some numbers instead. Part of this challenge is to take the money saved by using keto and use it to buy a specific stock each week. I am using Wealthsimple for this, as it is an easy to use, commission free online stockbroker, and they have no minimum. So if you want to add small amounts of money, you totally can. I do have an affiliate link below for any Canadians that want to play along. So I worked out that I normally spend an average of $105 per week on my standard North American diet. Now on keto, my average week will be around $75, which leaves us about $30 to invest each week. I am not going to adjust this through the year for inflation, as if food goes up 5%, it applies to both and our difference is close enough to the same. The stock I chose is an ETF. I selected XEG, which is the BlackRock Canada iShares S&P TSX Capped Energy Index ETF. This fund invests in a lot of the big energy stocks in North America. So yesterday, I added 3 more shares of XEG. The order was priced at $37.17, as XEG has been doing a lot better this week compared to last week. So I now have 9 shares of XEG for a total of $111.24, which places my overall investment up by $4.06. Next week, we will add more. And as we go through this challenge, we will see how much it grows as we shrink. It will be absolutely fun. If you like the financial part of this challenge and want to learn more, I will leave a link below to my other channel, Mountain Finance. If you liked today's video, be sure to show the like button some love. If you want to follow along on this journey, then be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I drop a new video. Until next time, keep losing, and we'll see less of you again soon. Take care.